Okay, so for this beautiful tote that we're gonna do, the first thing that I want to do is to do a pattern. And again, if you have followed my videos before, you know I use packing paper, and we are gonna use one. I put several just in case I messed up, but I'm gonna be drawing on the top one. So I'm gonna first make my pattern, and I want you to do the pattern with me so you can get yourself a little more familiarized of making the pattern and also doing the pouch. So not pouch, sorry, the tote. In this case, we are making a tote today. So this is a 24 by 24, and I have my big ruler, and then you can see that this is a 24-inch in length ruler. So this is a 24 by 24 piece of paper. So the first thing that I want to do with this is that I am going to take my one piece and I am going to go ahead and divide it in half. Okay, and you know the nice thing of the packing paper is that you can buy a bunch for really inexpensive, and it lasts you a really long time. It just really lasts me, only because I use it just for this. I don't use it for packing. So the first thing that I want you to do is fold one piece in half so you can be able to mark your center. Now I'm going to go ahead and bring it over so you can see, and you can see there your half line. So now I am going to go ahead and mark that line. But what's going to happen, let me go ahead and turn my ruler over on this side, and when I mean over is that I want it from the bottom up. So on the middle line, I'm gonna go to the bottom and I'm gonna go up to 14.5 inch. Okay, so this is my 14.5 inch mark right here. So I'm gonna put a circle, and I'm gonna go ahead and draw a downwards line all the way down, 14.5. Okay, so you have that line there. I wonder if you can see it. Let me use the marker. Hopefully it's not too thick. Let's see, I'm gonna use the Sharpie. So I have my 14.5 mark. Oops. And I'm gonna go ahead and throw that down line. Now you can see it better, okay. From that line, I'm gonna go to the top of that line, and I'm gonna go ahead and make a line all the way over, but I'm gonna go only to 11.5. So when I say 11.5 is that I'm gonna go 1 to 11.5 to the right, and then the same to the left. So I wanna make sure it's level, so make sure I am making a nice and straight line. I may have to stand up to see it. Yeah, and I'm gonna use the mat underneath to make sure that line is level. So at 11.5, I'm gonna throw a line. So this is 11.5 inch, and like I said before, this is 14.5 inch. And I'm gonna do the same thing to the other side, 11.5, making sure it's level. Right there. So at that 11.5 point, I'm gonna go ahead and draw a downwards line. And at this point, I'm gonna take the under paper out, because now it's in the way. Okay, so make sure your paper is straight. And now I go down, just go to the end of the paper. There you go. And I actually did go to the border in. Okay. What's going to happen next, I am going to mark, let me just put it like this. So from that corner, from the corner in. I am gonna go about 2 inches high, and then in the 5.5 mark, I'm gonna put a dot right there, okay? And I'm gonna grab my 2-inch ruler, and I'm gonna go all the way to the top. And then I put it at that 5.5 mark, and I'm just gonna go do an upwards line, okay? And now I'm gonna do the same thing to the other side. At the 5.5 mark, to the end of that line, 2 inches up. Right there. And just think about that being the inside mark. Make sure your paper is level because this is so crooked right now. Okay, there you go. And then I'm gonna go from the top to the bottom. And I'm just gonna throw a downwards line. Okay, I want you to find maybe like let me get it, you can use your tape, and I'm gonna put it right from line to line so it's touching the upper line and it's touching the bottom line. And I'm gonna go ahead and make a nice circle right there. I'm gonna do the same here. It touches the upper and the bottom line, so you can see it. It's touching the upper and the bottom line. And I'm gonna go ahead and do the same. And I continue and do that in every single corner. Touches the corner, upper and the bottom one. Touches the upper. Whoops, it's not touching the bottom. Let's do it again. And notice that I use my 5.5 mark. I use the height of that 2-inch up mark to be able to start the goal on my line. Okay, that looks beautiful. Okay, so with that being said, the next thing that we need to do is that looks great. I am gonna go to the bottom, and at the bottom, I'm gonna go ahead and do a 2-inch box. Move this ruler over. So I'm gonna do a 2-inch box, 2x2 box, and a 2x2 box. You know already, if you've been sewing, that we are gonna be cutting that, right? With this pattern, I don't want you to waste any pieces. So the piece that we are taking out here when we cut this is gonna be your pocket. So I'm gonna show you how we're gonna use that as the pocket. And these two we're not gonna use. I'm gonna cut them out and we're not gonna use them, but this is gonna be the pocket. Okay, so can you see the pattern? It looks really easy, so it's done. Let's go ahead and cut the framing of this so we can go and put it on the fabric. So let me put some weight on it. And I'm gonna use my scissors, not the scissor, the rotary cutter. Let me find mine. Give me 1 second. Okay, so here's my rotary cutter. So I'm gonna try to Please don't cut yourself with this thing. I have cut myself before, and it's not very fun. So this one is going to be our pocket. I'll show you how. And if you see me use scissors and rotary cutter, it's because I have two fingers in one hand. So I have cut myself before and I don't want to have an accident, so I'm super careful to say that. Okay, so hold on to this piece because we are going to use it. Let me put that on top. Okay. Okay, I don't need this piece, so I'm gonna discard this one. But I do need this skinny one. I'll show you what I'm gonna do. And now I do have that border right there, so I do want you to cut it off. And do the same on the other side. Okay, and if you want, you can go ahead and cut those corners. That would be really nice because that way you don't waste fabric and it stays on your main fabric, which is nice. Okay. So we went ahead and cut the whole thing. And I don't know if you can see already the bag, but I can see it. I can see the bag. It's gonna be adorable. And I think it's a really good size. I played with the pattern that I was making several times until I found the right size, the size that I want. So I really like this size. It's gonna be big enough to play with it. So I like it. So I want you to go ahead and grab that pocket. So we're not gonna make that big of a pocket. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna fold it. I'm gonna fold about 2 inches. So let me measure so you can see it. So that's a little bit over 2. So I'm gonna go ahead. There you go. Yep, just about at the 2-inch mark, I am gonna fold that. There you go. And that you be your pocket. It may be a little too big. I did 2 inches before. That came a little big. Let's do 3 inches. So let me mark 3 inches. I think 3 inches. Much easier, right? There you go. That looks so much better. So that's a good size pocket. So just so I can keep it done, I'm gonna hold on that down with a piece of tape, making it easy. Okay, so that's easy. Okay, now where am I gonna put my, we'll worry about where we're gonna put it later on, but basically I am gonna have 2.5 inches down, which is here. Okay, so if you want to have your pattern all marked, so at 2.5 inches, that is where I'm going to be placing my pocket. So when and see how pretty that's going to look. So that's going to be at 2.5 inches. Notice that I go ahead and use the line of the center line to be able and put it right on the line. So that way you get a perfect fit. So when I decide to put my piece, I may fold it, iron it a little to create a crease, and then I'll place it. And it should fall in within the lines that you created from the handles. Okay, so you have it right there. So that looks really good. Okay, so that's gonna be your pocket, and the tote is ready to start making. So join me next in making the bag.